This is Chapter 2, Section 3, and Chapter 3 that we'll be discussing with biochemistry. In Chapter 2, Section 3, the structure of water is discussed. In the water molecule, we know the formula is H2O, but that's not the order that the molecules appear. Oxygen is actually in the middle, and the two hydrogens are attached in this bent shape on either side of the oxygen. Now, the key to this structure is that oxygen has a negative charge to it, while the hydrogens have a partial positive to them. That's what these arrows indicate here. They point to the negative atom, and the crosshatch is on the positive atom. So by having a negative side of the molecule and a positive side of the molecule, that creates this uneven distribution of charge, which makes water a polar molecule. Now, polar molecules, again, where one end is positive and the other is negative, means that it's going to have a good ability to help to break apart other compounds. Those charges will help to pull apart other things, especially other polar substances. So that's the rule that you need to remember. Like dissolves like. Polar substances will dissolve other polar substances, and nonpolar things will dissolve only nonpolar things. If something is nonpolar, then that means it has an even distribution of charge. So both ends of the molecule would be positive or both ends would be negative. That's why oil and water won't dissolve in each other. Oil is a nonpolar substance, and water is a polar substance. So the two, when you combine them, will eventually separate out into two separate layers. Hydrogen bonds are weak forces of attraction between the hydrogen atom in one molecule and a negatively charged atom in a second molecule. The most common negatively charged ions that those hydrogens will bond with are nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine, or NOF. They go right in order on the periodic table. And these bonds help to allow water molecules to attract to each other, like you see in the diagram here. So you've got your partial negative oxygens and your partial positive hydrogens. Well, when those hydrogens of one molecule get attracted to the negative oxygens of another water molecule, that attraction that they have for each other is that hydrogen bond, and that allows water to have a couple different properties. The main ones being cohesion and adhesion. Now, cohesion is an attractive force between like particles. So kind of you see the bubbling here on this leaf, water attracting to itself and forming kind of a skin almost on the outside of it before it were to burst and spill over. That's cohesion, like particles are attracting. With adhesion, that's where you're going to have unlike substances attract to each other. So like we use tape to adhere something to the wall. We're trying to attract two different substances to each other. Water clinging to the edges of a glass here, you see how it kind of creeps up the side. That would be the water clinging to a different substance, so that would be adhesion. Now, when you combine the two of those together, you get capillarity. The definition is the reaction of a liquid surface with a solid. So it's the combination of both adhesion and cohesion, and that allows water to creep up the interior of a narrow vessel. So for instance, like water flowing up a flower's stem. They're able to combine those adhesive forces and cohesive forces to let water force itself up against gravity and move up through the plant's roots and stem out to the leaves. You can see in the picture here, there's a carnation. It's a white carnation, and when you put it in red water, you can start to get the red coloring coming out on the petals. So that water is being moved up against gravity through the plant stem out to the leaves. Same thing here with the celery and the different colored water. Another important characteristic of water is its ability to maintain temperature. It's very key in helping organisms to maintain their homeostasis. We are made up of a lot of water, and water has a large heat capacity, meaning that it can gain or lose a large amount of energy before its temperature will ever change. The energy that's added to it to heat up water has to go in and break all those hydrogen bonds first before it will ever heat up the molecule. So it's a key ingredient in helping cells to maintain homeostasis.